For those of you who don't know who Todd Winn is and Jennifer Tyson, here's your opportunity. We're fixing to have a conversation and talk about forum meat, where food comes from, stories that might illustrate why and how and what forum meat is all about. And as a representative of Peterson's, I like to just do things like this because you guys play an integral role in the opportunity Peterson's might find in growing our business and working with quality partners. So thank you for that. And I'll spare everybody Don, tell me where you're from. Who are you? Jennifer, tell me where, because that can be a while. So I'll just sum it up. And these two people have been in the meat industry, the distribution business, the meat cutting business, farming and ranching their whole lives. So just take my word for it. The thoughts they have, the experience they have is super credible, is super valuable. And I certainly lean on, and they may not even know it at times, that I'm paying attention to their business, paying attention to the things they do. So I can be better, Peterson's can be better, and ladies first.
Hooray.
All right, Jennifer, I think the question begs to be asked, why the meat business?
Well, you kind of touched on my background briefly, but I did grow up on a farm and we raised cattle. And I always knew that I wanted to be in agriculture in some way. I may not have known what that was early on, but my family was heavily involved in an Angus cattle operation. And the more that I was around live cattle, I realized maybe I didn't want to be on the live side. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of moving parts. Little did I know what my future had in store for me. But I went to school at Tarleton. I got into animal science. And I really just fell in love with the processing aspect and the quality aspect and packaging and cutting. It's something that...
And refrigeration.
And refrigeration. You have to have refrigeration. Yes, very important component of manufacturing.
Sorry to cut you off.
No.
You were really giving a great insight, but I think the listeners need to hear, this is part of why farming and ranching kids or meat business kids or people that grew up in that atmosphere make great assets, because you have this, well, I have to do it all kind of thought process. Like there's refrigeration units in this processing facility, and if they're not on, I have to get them fixed. Sometimes you can get the guy to come or gal. Sometimes you can't. So you're calling somebody. I can't tell you how many times I was on the phone holding it like this, got wrenches trying to get this either relay out.
Flipping the breakers.
Yes. Well, did you turn it off?
Yeah, that's always step one.
Yes,
always.
I know that rule. So anyways, I think that's just kind of a fun thing to chase a little bit, is how that growing up in, live cattle certainly was true for me. I mean, we just did all kinds of stuff, from fixing tractors to processing meat to feeding animals to chopping ice in the winter. It was just a really dynamic thing. So that's why you started, that you just have always had that affinity for the agriculture sector, and then you really fell into loving the building of processing.
Correct.
Okay, Todd, your turn. Why do you do it?
Well, my background is in the meat business. I grew up with a family who owned a meat company. My dad bought an existing meat company in 1974, I believe it was. I, as a kid, used to love to just go down and hang out in the summers. My mother kept the books for my dad, so she was down there every day. So I get to ride down and hang out and get in everybody's way.
Yeah.
I loved the production side of it. I love to watch hamburger patties being made off the hamburger patty machine. I'm a freak for equipment. I love to watch equipment go. I also enjoyed riding on delivery trucks with the driver. the whole aspect of the business side itself, I enjoyed. I did, like you, Neil, I wanted to be a pilot my whole childhood.
Yeah.
And that was going to be my career of choice. I swore that after working for hot summers for my dad, that the last thing I was going to do was the meat business. I was going to fly airplanes.
How many of us have been there?
Yeah.
I'll never do this for a living.
Yeah. And then, of course, in the summers, I was working for my dad when I would come home from school, and I ended up in the meat business.
Yeah.
But it was out of doing what I loved. Not only the meat aspect of it, just the business, the industry was fun. We had friends in the industry.
Yeah.
Enjoyed spending time with them. So that's kind of the way I got started.
And so why do you do it now? Is it all those same reasons? Has that reason changed over time?
Well, the meat business is not easy. There's a lot of competition out there. And we were successful in growing our company. My dad retired in, I think, mid-90s, 1990s. And then in 2000, my brother-in-law, who I'm real close to, he retired from the banking industry. And so I asked him to join us. And we decided with two of us in the family business, we had to grow it to support everybody. And so we got after it, got busy and put ourselves out there, and we were fortunate enough to grow the company. We sold the company to one of our big customers who wanted to be in the meat business. And we stayed on and ran it for a few years, and then worked out a contractual basis that we had agreed to stay for so long. We decided to move on and do something else. And we were once again going to do anything but the meat business again. It's too hard. So we looked around for things to do. We looked for little companies to buy or whatever to grow, and it just kept coming back to, we don't know how to do this. We looked at a few deals and we'd say, we don't know how to do this. Thanks. We know what we want to do. So we started thinking about re-entering the meat industry, but we knew that we wanted to do it in a special way. We didn't want to go into trying to compete with commodity business from the big guys. They had that all wrapped up. And that's a very competitive arena to play in. So what we wanted to do was to focus on high quality products for basically the white tablecloth restaurant industry. In that high quality products, we also wanted to focus on all natural products wherever we could and wherever it made sense.
Yeah.
We felt like that part of the meat industry was growing. It made a lot of sense that it grow. People were now becoming more interested in where their products come from, and that they're more, without all the growth hormones in the animals and that sort of thing. So that was an area that we wanted to focus on and stay out of the commodity side. And so that's how we came to be with Foreign Meat Company.
Yeah. Well, you segued right to the burning question I think we all have. I certainly have. What is the most misunderstood thing about where meat comes from? Like, we live in this society where people are becoming more and more interested in knowing and understanding, which is kind of weird to me, because it's like, how do you not know? From my life experience and where I was raised and this kind of thing, I can't imagine you don't know. But I'm just a rare kind of person. Like, in fact, the agriculture industry is just a small percentage of the population. So it's weird that I would have that thought, but I do. So I don't know, Jennifer or Todd, either one of you, do you have off the top of your head an opinion on what's kind of misunderstood?
I kind of have one. Being from a food safety background, one of the things that has always bothered me is when people don't realize what it takes and what we go through as the manufacturer and the distributor to get that product from the farm to your table safely, and all the regulations that are put upon us and that we have to follow through with every day. I think that there's a huge misconception about what we are allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. And this is not really related to meat, but the video I've seen circulating of red potatoes, we're painting the potatoes red. No, they're just actually washing the dirt off of the potatoes from the field. I mean, things like that just don't happen legally. So anytime I hear, a influencer or somebody like that kind of trying to bash, the meat industry, it's like, well, if you just spent a day here and knew what we had to go through every day and how closely everything we do is watched, that's one of the things that I wish people had a little bit more education and knowledge on.
Well, they have to want it. It's like,
right.
You can only give what you have. So I think Peterson's and this podcast, these conversations are bound by those rules as well. I've got to go find people and talk to people who have this experience, this knowledge, so we can give it to those who are looking for it. I'd encourage listeners to encourage their friends to listen. And the world is full of information, from social media to websites, all these things. So you can probably find some conversation, some article to support whatever it is you want to believe. I find it pretty valuable to just ask those people who do it. Hey, what do you think? I mean, if I'm going to go learn how to skateboard, which I always use skateboard as an analogy, I don't know anything about it. I mean, I guess I know it's such a thing. I mean, I've heard of Tony Hawk, but like, if you put a skateboard under my feet, I'm just going to bust it. I don't know how to do that. So I need to have to talk to somebody who does. And I think I'd encourage everybody to care a little bit. Like, your nutrition, the food you eat is your health. It is ultimately your future medical bills. If you choose, you got to make some smart choices there. So what about you, Todd? Have you got any kind of thing that really goes off as a bell? This has happened to me so many times that I can't believe people don't understand that, or even your customers.
Yeah, and I think for me, when I think about that, I go back to where the cattle are raised, or where the chickens are raised, or whatever the protein is. I think, people have a concept that, cattle come from a ranch or whatever, and that's about the end of it. And there's not a lot of knowledge of what all that rancher has to go through to get cattle from birth all the way through the feedlot and to where it comes on our plate. The all natural aspect for those folks that are raising cattle in the all natural way, or hogs in y'all's case, on the all natural way, it takes longer to bring those animals to market than it does your typical commercial way of raising animals with the growth hormones and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That takes extra time. The extra time is money, because for the extra time, you're feeding those animals every day. So you have more of an input cost.
Yeah, and borrowing money for longer.
Exactly. Yeah, the banker is looking at you. Okay. And with that, those products bring a premium price. And so, we've got to find our consumers who do care about paying the extra price for the product, not because we're making extra profit.
Right.
It's because we have a higher input cost. We have to get those back.
And it's the way you want to do it. It's some of those things in the marketplace are you don't have to do it that way, but that's how I want to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And as long as I can find another person that wants to make that transaction, we're talking about it over lunch, how your dad built the business was just finding a piece of the market that he could service, and then finding somebody that wanted it that way, then another one, then that one told another one. It's like,
yeah,
I see these debates so often from lots of people that I respect and like and don't fully agree with, but don't fully disagree with. Well, y'all say hormones all the time. There's no cattle that ever goes to slaughter the U.S. that has gone through the, they make sure the hormones have gone out of their system, or, they're not getting additional. You can just argue some of these points till the cows come home. But the fact is, for a consumer who may be less educated, who may just want to say, I still like this, that you never used them, right?
Right.
Then that's the people we're serving. Sweet. So ultimately, we could talk for another 20 hours about all the things that are probably misunderstood or
Right.
not fully communicated. I grew up in the cattle business. We're scared every person in the world is PETA. Like they're coming to turn us down, put some kind of negative spin on what we do. Listen, be quiet. Keep your head down. Don't say anything stupid. They'll leave you alone. I don't know if that's the right approach anymore. I think we got to talk about what we do. And yes, animals die, and we need them.
Yeah.
It's
the way it is.
Don't dance around it. That's true. We need nutrition. It's how we're saying something about nature is way more harsh than what people are picturing is actually happening to the animals that we eat for nutrition, grow for nutrition, and give life. So it's just a beautiful thing to me, I guess. So that's just my experience and where I come from. I was thinking about getting ready to tell about this baby cat. I'm like, I don't know if these people can handle it.
They may not.
But why don't you just tell that story? Because it's another illustration of where you come from, where you see the truth about raising animals for food.
Yeah. Do we need a trigger warning or two for
let's say we decide we don't want this in here.
Yeah.
Let's take it out. But I think partly then your female is interesting. It's going to be more valuable to some of our listeners because it's a good feminine kind of perspective that I think females find it hard to eat meat. So, it just is kind of like this. It's almost not nurturing.
Yes.
Anyway, so how did it go with you first time you found that there was such a thing as the calf didn't live?
The circle of life.
Yeah, right. The circle of life.
Well, as I said before, I've always been involved in live cattle. And one of the things, I spent my entire childhood helping my parents put up fences. The weekends were always a family thing. We were going to go feed the cows at our different locations. And I remember one of the first times I remember being fascinated just by the complete life cycle and the process and going back to the nature part of the business that you were talking about. We had gone to feed the cows one day, and we went up to move the round bell feeder, and stuck in the round bell feeder, there was a calf that had got attacked by coyotes, and it was completely destroyed. And so I thought it was fascinating for whatever reason. I don't remember how old I was, but I think that was kind of a window into my future of, this is a part of obviously not the live side that fascinates me,
Sure.
but the anatomy and the muscle biology and everything like that. I think that was kind of my first peek into that. And after that, my mom, she loves to quiz me on what happens to our animals. So like, why did this one die? I don't know, Mom. Let's do an autopsy.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and it didn't turn you into some kind of murderer.
I am not a serial killer yet.
Right. I mean, it's like it was an experience.
Yes.
My daughters, we had a baby bottle calf that didn't live. We went through the whole process burying that. Oh, this is sad. You're right. It is sad. But there's, there is no guarantee. We don't have a guarantee of tomorrow as humans. I mean, it's just not that way. Okay, so cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Everybody listening. I mean, and that's tough.
It's just reality.
We're talking about it like, hey, it is interesting. These animals are put together in specific ways. So this meat works this part of their body. This meat doesn't. This meat's more tender. All these things. Well, that learning started for Jennifer at a very young age. And now she's the girl controlling how so much of the business at Forum gets done. So it was really cool. Part of the goal is to tell people about Forum and to make them aware that you're here, you're doing high quality things, you want to grow. That's so any listener may pass that along to a friend of theirs, some restaurant. What is your kind of area in which you do business?
We're heavy in the DFW area. We're expanding into the Houston market. We have representatives now, sales representatives now in Houston. And we're also, I guess our newest market is going into San Antonio and Austin area.
All right. So that tells me we can probably draw a circle around Ennis, Texas, about 200 miles out or so. And if you're in that circle for mid-care and service, your business.
Exactly.
Pending some certain things. I'm sure you can't drive a truck to, well, I don't know, I'm guessing Shreveport here, just thinking easterly, and for one box of what? Grinding or something.
Right.
But that's the kind of business y'all do. All right, cool. Anybody listening to Terry Frizz, say have a restaurant, white tablecloth in that circle. I'm telling you right now, Forum's a good group to work with. I don't know. One of you pick. Paper, rock, scissors. Who just love All right, Razzle, tell me a story in your career with Forum that kind of, in your mind, illustrates what y'all are all about. Got anything like that comes to mind?
I'll let you think on it. I don't have one story, but I think more importantly, I have a collective.
There you go.
I think I could probably tell you 10 or 20 stories about little things that we've done. And not just myself or Todd, anybody, our drivers, our salespeople. One of the things I always tell people when they come in for a tour is that, yes, we are a small company, but that also helps us be more flexible and have the flexibility that a bigger company may not have to do different things and be more custom. We can be more customize. What am I even trying to say? We can customize your product more. Yeah. So if you call me, and just a small example, I think we both probably take phone calls until 8 or 9 o'clock at night from salespeople needing stuff. I need this out of the freezer the next morning, or I need to make sure this gets on a truck. A couple of Fridays ago, a salesperson had called me after I had already sent everyone home, and his customer had to have some pork chops, go figure. Yeah. So I cut 2 cases. Me personally, sorry if you're the country club that received these pork chops. I cut 2 cases of pork chops so that customer would make it through the weekend until Monday and we could get them some more. I don't know, just a lot of little things like that, I think, make it.
You've got a little bit of empathy for that customer to understand they don't get to control how many people ordered pork chops.
Right.
Or they just forgot to order the pork chops, and now they're going to be out over the weekend, and that's not going to be good for them, their business, or any other thing. So you're here to support that. And that, I've experienced that with Forum. You know, Lloyd, I'll call Lloyd, just kind of a question. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to turn into business for Forum. This is me accessing my network with a question. And bam, he tells me, we're here looking at chuck eyes and cutting steaks and these kind of things. But that's my story of working with Forum that to me illustrates the kind of culture y'all have. You got any of them?
Yeah, I think I'm like Jennifer. I think it's just a combination of a lot of things. We have always been, or I have always been, in a small business. And you have to separate yourself somehow from the big guys.
Yeah.
And we find it easy, honestly, to supply good service, whether that's deliveries forgotten that we take care of on the way home.
Yeah.
Especially on Fridays.
Correct. Right.
Or whether it's customizing like customer wants a steak cut a certain way. They like it. They don't have to choose from what we want to sell them. We ask them what they want us to deliver to them. We write that spec and we deliver it to them time and time again. Yeah. So it's about customer service. It's about having quality products too. Obviously, the Petersons play a major role in that for us on the pork side.
Yeah. I mean, Cody and I talk about it a lot. But if we don't have quality, we're out of business.
Yeah.
Like we got to kind of have baseline, top quality stuff to stay floating. That's because there's plenty of people who are providing that service or that product that is maybe more on the affordable side, or using some of the technology, ingredients, etc., that help reduce cost. So we just kind of stay away from those things. What did y'all do when COVID hit? This question wasn't really on the list, but it begs, I mean, I'm just thinking that's another, I kind of know. So that's another thing that I think tells a lot about what Forum is all about. So when that hit, you're watching all your customers hit the wall. I mean, like brick wall. Did y'all shut down? Did y'all start charging them more just because you could, because they couldn't get it anywhere else? How'd that go?
Well, after we panicked and had a freak out, we had been open 2 years. All of a sudden, one day, the government says our customers all have to shut down. We really did. We're obviously very concerned. But what are we going to do? What we did not anticipate was the handful of retail customers, like retail high-end butcher shops that we had. Their business exploded. Everybody now had to eat at home.
Yeah.
So the grocery stores were packed, and the butcher shop, our butcher shop customers were jammed with business. So we actually saw, if we had this much butcher shop business, this much restaurant business, we just saw it do this.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we never expected, and this was probably to me, the funnest piece that came out of this situation, bad situation, was we started getting phone calls from ranchers. Word got out that we had the ability to cut product, package it. We had the right equipment to package it and to label it, because USDA requires all these full 100% labels, with all the requirements on there. We had the scales that could produce those labels, and these ranchers were selling their meats online. So it was going straight from the ranch to the processor, and then the processors could break it down into box beef, as we know the way we buy it, box beef and box pork. But they had nobody. Those guys don't cut steak. They don't portion and label and all that.
Yeah.
So that piece of the business exploded for us. The other fun, what was fun about that piece of the business was all the ranchers coming in here to meet.
Yeah.
And that's when you start saying, okay, this is really cool. These people are salt of the earth. They're bringing their product to us and trusting us to cut it, package it, label it. And then they were taking possession of it from there and selling it online. And I don't know how many ranchers we cut for, and it's still going on today.
Yeah.
It's stuck. But quite a few, Jennifer. I don't know, what do we have? 6, 8, 10? Something like
We have
that.
several, yeah.
And a lot of it's the American Wagyu on the beach side, you know. So that's been a lot of fun to get to know those folks.
See, so such a crazy, scary thing turned into a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We were talking about it over lunch, how, hard things are fun. Like work is hard. Having a business, being a part of a leadership team, all these things are hard. but there's a lot of fun to be found inside that as well. Awesome. Cool. Well, I really appreciate y'all sitting down, spending the time here, batted around a few things, just the tip of the iceberg for the people at Peterson's and the podcast listeners. I call them the PNFers to kind of hear what Forum Meet's all about. Todd Winn, Jennifer Tyson, and so y'all go. I'll put some links to their website and these things in the show notes. So anybody that's interested, go check out the show notes. And thank y'all really for everything you do for Peterson's as well.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.